Sorry about that. Didn't realize it was on loop. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a good one. Sorry for not coming to you guys yesterday. We've been having a hell of a storm out here in California here recently. And as some of you guys may know that saw the Vengeance Day watch along coverage, I was experiencing some technical difficulties, had to do my part of the broadcast on my phone, and it's hard for me to produce a show on the phone. So I just went ahead and I canceled yesterday's show and figured, okay, well, give it a try today. It's not raining right now. It's actually cloudy, gloomy, but cloudy outside. Hopefully the weather will maintain so that we can get through this show with no hiccups, no dips in service and everything. We're going to try to give you today both things that you're looking for, everything that happened on the weekend that I wasn't able to give you yesterday, plus last night's Raw. So again, thank you all for joining me and tuning in. And let's go ahead and get to this. On SmackDown, that's how we're going to kick things off. We're going to start with WWE and we'll end with WWE. On SmackDown, we started off and saw the Bloodline arriving at the arena. We went to some of the Rumble highlights, still kind of pushing the Rumble stuff, especially since we're supposed to find out tonight who Cody Rhodes is going to challenge. Once the highlights are done, we then see Cody Rhodes arrive at the building, along with Bayley and Damage Control. We then go inside the arena, and Corey Graves is our new lead SmackDown announcer, with Wade Barrett as his color man. This is an interesting dynamic because now you've got two ex-wrestlers as commentators. Usually the ex-wrestlers are color men, but Corey has gotten so good at his job that he is now the lead SmackDown announcer. So cheers to Corey Graves on that one. Logan Paul comes to the ring, and Logan says that KO did more to him, Logan says that KO did more to him than Floyd Mayweather did when they had their boxing match. He made him bleed, and he almost knocked him out. But at the end of the day, KO still lost. Logan boasts and brags a little bit more, and this ends up bringing KO out, of course. KO says that the next time that they meet, he will dethrone Logan and restore some prestige to the United States Championship. But Logan says that KO doesn't have a rematch, and he needs to focus on his match tonight against Austin Theory. We then get into KO versus Theory. Logan Paul is on the headset. It was a good but predictable match, if we're being honest. KO got the victory despite Grayson Waller ringside trying to run interference and cheat on Theory's behalf. We then go backstage, and Naomi is coming out of Nick Aldis's office, having signed a contract with the SmackDown brand. Mia Yim, Shotzi, and Bianca are all hanging out outside the office, and they applaud her on her big return to the company. And Tiffany Stratton comes up and says that she is the center of the universe and wants some applause for her signing with the SmackDown brand as well. They all just kind of look at her like, who the hell do you think you are? And so Tiffany ends up slapping the shit out of Mia Yim. And Aldis makes a match for later on in the evening between Mia Yim and Tiffany Stratton. We then have Nick Aldis, Bianca, and Logan Paul backstage. And this was an interesting little segment, just the whole dichotomy of the three of them. Logan Paul wants to know who his next challenger is going to be for the U.S. title, and Nick Aldis says that he'll get on that. We will find out this week who Logan Paul's next challenger is going to be. We then get a Legado del Fantasma promo as Santos Escobar, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, and Elektra Lopez are all having a meal together and toasting to family. Elektra Lopez now back with Santos Escobar after a little bit of extra time on the NXT roster for a little bit of added seasoning. Going to be interesting to see what Elektra brings to the mix as a counterpoint to Zelina Vega over on the LWO side of things. We then got a 4-team tag team match where the winner would face the winner of a match that we had on Raw, and the winner of those two teams would then challenge Damian Priest and Finn Balor at the Chamber for the tag titles. The 4 teams involved on the SmackDown side of things were Pretty Deadly, the LWO, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, the Legado del Fantasma, Angel and Humberto, and Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. This was just some fantastic, high-risk, fast-paced tag team action. Easy to get clusterfucky, but they managed to keep things pretty organized within the ring, all things considered. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate get the victory here. After just seeing the Legado del Fantasma promo, I kind of expected them to get the win, if I'm being honest. So I was a little bit surprised to see Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate get it. But at the same time, Butch just reverted back to being Pete Dunne. So what better way to help keep that team getting momentum and pushing them than to give them this victory? We then had Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane backstage speaking some Japanese, and Io says that Bayley is done tonight. And they all walk off as Bayley emerges out of the back of the dressing room, having heard the entire thing, now heartbroken. Damage Control then comes to the ring in full, minus Dakota Kai, and Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are in the ring as well. Bayley begins to cut her promo as to who she's going to choose to face at WrestleMania. Talks about wanting to fight the best of the best, kind of leading us to think that she's going after Rhea like she's been saying for a while so that Damage Control can have all the gold. But then she pivots and she says, or maybe I should do something that's a little bit more personal. You know, you think you've got a support system and you find out that the support system isn't really there for you. And you can kind of see Io, Asuka, and Kairi behind her, kind of like mimicking her and mocking her. And she whips around and is like, are you done joking around now? Are you done making fun of me? She then says something in Japanese, and the look on all 3 of their faces just completely change. And she's like, yeah, I picked that up when you guys were talking about me behind my back. Great moment there. Bayley ends up getting attacked by Asuka and Kairi and challenges Io to the match at WrestleMania. So we finally have our first official match for WrestleMania 40. Io Sky versus Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship. And the segment was pretty great, Safet. We then had the Final Testament versus the Almighty Street Profits. This match just goes to hell really quickly. BFAB comes out, gets involved, aligns with Lashley and the Profits. There is no winner in this match. Match ends up getting thrown out. Just chaos and the like. We then go backstage and we see Nick Aldis and Braun Breaker in Aldis's office. And Pierce comes in, you know, kind of like, so what are we doing here? You're just trying to sign somebody without giving them the opportunity to discuss with the other side of things what they have to offer. So Adam Pierce invites Braun Breaker to come to Raw next week, yesterday, see what he has to offer so that Braun can make the best decision for his young career after his stellar performance in the Royal Rumble. While that is happening, Jade Cargill walks in. And kind of the same thing is said to her, but Jade doesn't appear on Raw this week. Spoiler alert. I know we're going to get to Raw towards the end, but both general managers trying to court the two free agent signings to see where they're going to end up. We then go to Tiffany Stratton versus Mia Yim, and this was a tremendous debut match for Tiffany. Mia Yim did a great job helping to make Tiffany look good. Mia Yim made Tiffany earn her victory. A little bit predictable because when was the last time we saw Mia Yim win anything? So we kind of knew that Tiffy was going to get the victory here in her SmackDown debut match. Prettiest moonsault ever, got the victory for her. But all in all, a great job by Tiff. Roman then comes out and addresses Seth Rollins and the claims that he's made about the championship and his belt being the workhorse title and Roman's belt being the Hollywood title. He goes on and he just begins to rip Seth to crap, saying that his championship is the loser's belt. Makes fun of him for wearing his wife's clothing and his pay rate, and tells that Cody that he can either be the best or he can settle for number 2. Cody comes out and we're going to get into this in depth a little bit later. I'm going to stop right here for a second and give a brief shill because at noon today, I'm going to do a special show called Inside the Mind of the Renegade, where I'm going to be discussing everything that's going on with the IWC as far as Cody Rhodes and his title opportunity. So make sure that you guys tune into that. That's noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. So I'm not going to get too deep in depth about it right here, but Cody mentions that he's been speaking to some special counsel. He's been speaking to friends and family about what he should do. He says that he's going to come after Roman. He's going to finish this story. He wants to take everything away from Roman. He wants the championship, just not at WrestleMania. Rock comes out. We have a stare down between Rock and Roman Reigns as SmackDown goes off the air. So again, a lot of stuff here to digest and unpack. As far as the repercussions of this segment, again, I'll be getting into that at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, and trying to break everything down because I've got a lot to say when it comes to that. All in all, SmackDown was a good show. I'd say probably about an 8 out of 10. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And we will get into AEW Rampage right after this brief commercial, showing you where you can find and follow all the people associated with the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, There's a presence everywhere. We will be right back.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. So, getting into AEW Rampage, we kicked off the show with Private Party versus Top Flight. This was the second match in what is looking to shape up to be a series of matches between these two young, high-flying teams. It was a fun rematch between them. Action Andretti was ringside to try to prevent Private Party from cheating, as they had done in the last match. And kind of glad Andretti was down there because I believe his name is Mark Quinn. Tried to use the ropes during a pinfall during the match, and Andretti was able to get him off the ropes. Dante Martin was able to get the victory for Top Flight, and it brought this series to 1-1. Now, of course, there's going to have to be a rubber match. When and where, we don't know. Seems like it's a little too far away to build it to Revolution on March 3rd, but who knows? We'll just have to see where things go from here. We go backstage to Renee Paquette and Sammy Guevara, who's talking about the street fight with Jericho from about a month ago, how he almost won with Jericho the tag titles off of Ricky Starks and Big Bill, and he's now cleared for action, and he's coming after Powerhouse Hobbs for his involvement in that match. Jay Lethal tries to set up some training with Jarrett and the crew, Sanjay Dutt, Karen Jarrett, and Satnam Singh, but nobody is prepared or willing to work out with Jay Lethal. Jarrett says that what brought him and Lethal together was that they were both hungry and ruthless, and they were no good sons of bitches. And now Jay is too nice. They have to get back to where they were, and Jarrett is going to run the meeting next week to try to get things back rolling between him and Lethal. This is obviously leading to a match at Revolution between the two men. I don't know if it'll be a pre-show or main card, but you can just see the way the ball is rolling that we're going to get to a Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett feud. And I'm here for it, man. Jay Lethal is a great talent, always has been. Jeff Jarrett may have been overrated when he was NWA World Champion and on his quote-unquote reign of terror that I don't think was a reign of terror, but that's just me. But I feel like now he's become criminally underrated in the fact that for a dude his age, he can still go. He still has so much to give and is trying to give that back to the AEW locker room and the young kids there. Jarrett deserves a few more flowers than he tends to get. We then get the Dark Order versus Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And this is an elimination match, meaning that if the Dark Order win, they get a title shot. But if the Dark Order lose, then they're eliminated for title contention. Darby Allin is on commentary, and this was some great tag team action here. I've never been the biggest fan of the Dark Order, but they really put on a good match here with Ricky and Big Bill. Very hard hitting and intense. Starks hit the Rochambeau for the victory. That means that the Dark Order have now been eliminated from title contention. We then have Renee Paquette, Don Callis, and Powerhouse Hobbs for a promo. And this is basically just a rebuttal to what Sammy had to say previously in the evening. Hobbs says that he's tired of hearing about Sammy and his baby girl and his family. He says he's got his own family. He's got kids that he's got to feed at home also. And this isn't the first time he's been the hunted, but best believe he's coming to get some of Sammy. We then had Willow Nightingale versus Queen Aminata. Hell of a contest between two women. This was hard fought. Willow got the victory. Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander were at ringside supporting her. At least Statlander was. Stokely was kind of there under duress because of his crush for Statlander. But regardless, these two women showed up and showed out, and it was a fantastic match. We then have Renee Paquette backstage with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. And Orange Cassidy begins cutting his promo and then talks about how Roddy and the Undisputed Kingdom are going to interrupt him in 3, 2, 1. And then here they come, interrupting everything. A challenge ends up being made, initially 4-on-4 between Wardlow, Bennett, Taven, and Roddy versus Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta. But Chuck Taylor is out with an injury. So the match ends up becoming 3-on-3 with Wardlow sitting out on the Undisputed Kingdom side and Chuck Taylor sitting out on the Orange Cassidy Best Friend side. And that will be next week. We then have Renee Paquette backstage with Willow, Stat, and Stokely. Excuse me. The Outcasts and Harley Cameron come in, and a challenge is made for next week. Looking forward to seeing that. Seeing Saraya get back into some action. Seeing Ruby get back in some action. I don't know if Harley is going to be involved or if she'll just be ringside, but it looks like it's going to be Willow and Stat versus Ruby and Saraya. Main event for Rampage, Cool Hand Angelo Parker, Daddy Magic Matt Menard, Matt Seidel, and the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels taking on the CMLL contingent of Mascara Dorado, Hecho Cero, Volador Jr., and Mystico. Of course, some of you guys may remember Mystico as Sin Cara in WWE. This was some awesome, fast-paced Lucha Libre action, but a predictable finish as the AEW contingent, pretty much all jobbers. So the CMLL contingent gets the victory here over the jobbers. Again, all in all, this was a fantastic show. This is one of the Rampages that you watch and you're like, man, I wish there was more to this. I'm sad this was only an hour. But very well presented. I'll give this one also an 8 out of 10. What did you guys think about Rampage? Let me know. We are going to run another trailer. This one is our watch-along trailer, and let me just go ahead and throw it out there. I haven't had a chance to re-edit it yet, so it does show Vengeance Day on there. Obviously, Vengeance Day was this past Sunday. Not happening now. It's already passed, but everything else is updated, and I should be able to get a new trailer for the watch-alongs done here in the next day or so. But Vengeance Day aside, this is everything that you can look forward to in a watch-along format across the multiverse of media.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And our next watch along here across the multiverse media, also not part of that trailer, we decided to do a watch along for tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite. That's 4:45 Pacific, 7:45 Eastern kickoff time. We will be calling the action of the entire card, but the main reason we are doing it is because we want to see if the Steiner, the Icon, can achieve some AEW Championship gold alongside his partner Darby Allin against Ricky Starks and Big Bill. This is very well going to be Steen's last championship run, if successful, and his only run in AEW. So we felt that this was a monumental match that needed to be called, needed to be represented. So we will be doing that tomorrow's Dynamite, kicking off 4:45 Pacific, 7:45 Eastern. Now, let's get into AEW Collision. And let me open up my other notebook because I had to start a new one. Collision kicked off with the bounty hunter Brian Keith versus Eddie Kingston. This was a proving grounds match, and if Brian Keith won, then much like the Eliminator match that we had on Rampage, Brian Keith would get a title shot at Eddie for his Triple Crown. This one wasn't as much about the match as it was about what happened after the match. The match was good. It was solid. It was predictable. Eddie Kingston gets the victory here. But after the match, Tony Schiavone gets in the ring and he starts trying to interview Eddie Kingston. And as we've seen here, especially on Collision, when we try to do these interviews with Kingston, Kingston doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to cut these stupid promos. So he tells Schiavone, go talk to Brian Keith. And Schiavone's like, all right, whatever. So he goes over and talks to Brian Keith. And he makes the announcement there in Texas, which is where Brian Keith is from, that Brian Keith is all elite. Puts the graphic up on the big screen. Brian Keith starts getting all emotional. I think he even starts crying. I couldn't really tell. Eddie comes in, shakes his hand, gives him a big embrace, kind of congratulating him for becoming all elite. So it was almost like you didn't win the match. You don't get the title shot, but you got a job, brother. You showed up, you showed out. So that was very cool. I've enjoyed Brian Keith ever since I saw him at the Ring of Honor show in December. We did the watch along for that. I want to say it was Death Before Dishonor. I have a hard time keeping the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, in order and knowing which one was which. I believe, though, it was Final Battle. But I've been a fan of Brian Keith since I first saw him there. And so to see him get the AEW contract, become all elite in his home state of Texas, great moment. We then get a promo from Jon Moxley regarding the CMLL contingent, and he tries to throw a little jab WWE's way, talking about how, if you guys thought that we were like that other show with lazy American wrestlers, you came to the wrong place because we are all elite. I didn't think the jab was necessary on Moxley's behalf, especially when you figure the fact that his former Shield brethren are the two world champions over in WWE. You would think he'd want to support those guys. If anybody else were champions, I could maybe understand it. But those two dudes, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of Moxley anyway. We then had Bryan Danielson versus Hechicero, and this was an incredible technical wrestling match. Oh my God. Words just can't describe it. I highly recommend you go onto Hulu, you find Collision, you watch this back. Bryan Danielson versus Hechicero was just so good. It has to be seen to be believed. Danielson gets the victory here. We then had an FTR Daniel Garcia promo backstage, kind of talking about how none of them ever expected to click up together, but they did, and it works, and they're going to keep running it because they're ranked in the AEW Trios rankings. FTR are unranked in the tag rankings, but they're ranked in the Trios rankings, so they're going to just continue to ride this wave for as long as it takes us. We then had Hook versus the Outrunners, 2-on-1 handicap match, and Hook squashed the two men. Next, y'all know how I feel about squash matches, and for Hook to squash a legitimate tag team with very little effort, I thought that was stupid. Just bad booking, in my opinion. We then had a Mark Briscoe promo in the ring, and he gives Tony Schiavone his flowers, talking about how him and his brother Jay used to watch wrestling on TV and seeing this young guy named Tony Schiavone talking to all the wrestlers and calling the action. It was a heartwarming moment there. And then he talks about how he helped FTR and Danny Garcia against the House of Black last week. House of Black appear on the big screen, and they begin to play some mind games with Mark Briscoe. Going to be interesting to see where this goes. If we get Mark Briscoe teaming with somebody to take on the House of Black. Hush it, Emmanuel. I'm not even going to justify that with a further comment. You just hush it, Emmanuel. We then had Serena Deeb in action against Queen Aminata. And again, this was a fantastic women's match. The quality of AEW's women's matches are definitely stepping up. They just need to be booked better. They need to be given more exposure. It was a predictable finish as well, as Queen Aminata, I don't think, has won a single match in AEW. Gets squashed here by Serena Deeb. But it just fantastic action here. This is a squash match that I will give a little bit of credit to, because I only consider it a squash in the fact that we knew who was going to win going in. But Queen Aminata always impresses. I could see some big things for her in the future. She just needs to get some better booking. Maybe they'll throw her into the Owen tournament or something this year, and she'll be able to get some steam behind her. Serena locked in the Serenity Lock, got the win. We then get a Swerve Strickland promo, and He's basically talking about the upcoming match against Hangman Adam Page, which will be on Dynamite tomorrow. One of the other matches we'll be calling the action for. And he basically tells Nana that he wants no interference in the match. He doesn't want the Mogul Embassy getting involved. He doesn't want him getting involved because he's tired of Hangman Page and his excuses. And if Swerve can beat him for a third time with no interference, Page is just going to have to STFU. I have a very bad feeling that Page is going to get the victory in this match. Winner gets a shot at Joe at Revolution. I think they're going to want to try and save Swerve for Double or Nothing or All In, All Out. So I hate the fact that when there's the biggest stipulation on the match, Swerve is more than likely going to lose. But something in my gut tells me that Hangman Adam Page is going to get this one on Wednesday. We shall see what happens, though. We then get a Toni Storm promo, Timeless Toni. And she has Luther set up a public workout for Wednesday, which we discover is a match. And it's going to be against Red Velvet on Dynamite tomorrow. So that's just another match we're going to get to call. We're going to get to call Timeless Toni Storm in action. Mariah May asks Toni if she saw her match from Collision the week prior. And Toni says, if you've seen one women's match, you've seen them all, darling. So I'm starting to wonder when Mariah May is going to get sick and tired of Timeless Toni never having the time to pay her any attention, but always expecting Mariah to be there for her. We shall see, though. We then had Red Velvet versus Vert Vixen. Squash match next. I mean, I've only seen Vert Vixen once or twice on AEW TV. And if Red Velvet is going to have a match against Timeless Toni on Dynamite, then you can't have her lose going into that. It was an okay match overall, but just unnecessary. This is where the women's division is badly booked. Like, you could have taken this match and the Hook Outrunners match, and you could have gotten rid of one and given time to the other. Then you could have actually had a little bit more than squash matches. Main event was the Patriarchy, Nick Wayne, Kill Switch, and the Father of the Year, Christian Cage, taking on Daniel Garcia and FTR. Some more phenomenal action between Garcia and FTR, really gelling good as a team. Danny Garcia was able to get the victory for the team here. All in all, I'm going to give Collision probably a 7.5 out of 10, just because the squash matches I felt were completely unnecessary. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. We are going to run the Raw opening now. And as soon as we are done with that, we will come back and we will discuss last night's episode of Raw. Stay tuned.
to talk about.
We are back, and we are about to transition into the Raw side of things. Seth freaking Rollins came out to kick off Raw, welcomes us all to Monday Night Rollins. The crowd begins to get rowdy, chanting, "We want Cody," and "Rocky sucks," and "We want Cody." So he's like, "Okay, so I guess you guys want Cody Rhodes," and kind of plays along with everything. He's like, "Well, I have some questions I need answered too. So Cody, come on out here." Cody Rhodes comes out to the ring, and he begins to get questioned by Seth after the crowd just erupts for him. And it should not be understated the crowd response to Cody Rhodes last night. Again, Cody comes out to the ring, starts chanting, "Rocky sucks." They start chanting, "We want Cody" some more, and Seth's like, "Wow, that's one I wasn't expecting to hear." The "Rocky sucks" chants. Michael Cole on commentary is like, "What is this, 1996?" Because that was when the "Rocky sucks" chants first started. And once we finally move past the crowd reaction, we get to the nitty-gritty here, and Seth begins to question Cody about whether or not he's going to challenge him for the title or not. Then we get Drew McIntyre coming out before Cody can really start answering anything. And a heel Drew McIntyre tries to be the voice of the people, trying to say that it should be Drew versus Seth for the title, freeing Cody up to go after Roman. And the crowd is down for this. They're like, yes, yes, yes. We don't want Cody versus Seth. We want Cody versus Roman. But Drew's doing it for his own selfish motives, of course. Ends up giving Seth a Glasgow kiss. Cody prepares for a fight, but Drew gets out of the ring and kind of escapes with his self intact here. It was a very interesting segment, but at the same time, aside from his traditional "so, what do you want to talk about?" Cody didn't really get to say anything. So we're going to have to wait until the press conference on Thursday to see what happens. There have been a lot of things discussed about it, and again, make sure you guys tune in at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to try and get into all of this later on today. I have a bunch of notes that I've taken. I've got a bunch of things I'm going to break down as part of this. Noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. And this may be a recurring thing that I do from here on out. It's not going to be a daily or a weekly show, but whenever something comes up like this that I really want to address, inside the mind of the Renegade. I agree, Emmanuel. I agree. I just wish people would be patient and let the storyline ride out. And again, we'll get into all that noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. We then see Becky Lynch, Caden Carter, and Katana Chance arriving at the arena before we go to a fatal four-way match where the winner of this fatal four-way match will face Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate on SmackDown this week, and the winner of those two teams will face Priest and Balor at the Chamber. We had the Creed Brothers, DIY, Imperium, and the New Day. And again, this was just some fantastic tag team action to start off the show. Creeds looked like they were going to get it here at one point. We had Brutus Creed locking one of the participants in an ankle lock. Julius came in and just started hitting overhead belly to belly throws, suplexes. Just phenomenal the way he was clearing the ring. He even did 2 suplexes at once, just showing off his strength, his skill, and his ability. All the while, we're waiting for the guy in the ankle lock to tap, and he's holding on, he's resisting. DIY somehow was able to get the victory thanks to a blind tag from Ciampa. Little bit bummed that the Creeds didn't take this one. Hopefully DIY lose at the Chamber. We then go backstage and we get a Shayna Baszler promo talking about the upcoming Elimination Chamber qualifying match between her and Becky Lynch, and how the last time she fought in a chamber, she was trying to challenge Becky Lynch for her championship. And Shayna went ahead and she eliminated everybody in the chamber on her way to do that. Now Becky Lynch is the person standing in her way to get into the chamber. So kind of a full circle moment here. Becky Lynch then gets an opportunity to cut a promo as she's making her way to the ring. Very similar. You know, the last time I fought Shayna Baszler, she had won a chamber match to get a shot at me. Now I have to fight her for the opportunity for Becky to step into the chamber for the first time in her career. We then get to the Becky versus Shayna match. And it was a solid match between these two women. Manhandle Slam gets the win from Becky Lynch, which I kind of was bummed about. I think I would have rather seen Shayna get the victory, and then maybe Becky could qualify for the chamber in like a last chance match. You know, all the people that get eliminated get a final opportunity to enter the chamber and have Becky win that. But Becky winning was just so predictable for me. Shayna Baszler deserves the push. Throughout the match, we see both Zoe Stark and Liv Morgan. And next week, they're going to face off to see who qualifies. We then go, after the match, to Kathy Kelly with Liv Morgan. And Liv, okay, a couple years ago when Liv Morgan cashed in her briefcase on Ronda Rousey, I was a fan of Liv. I was all for her. But the way that people have been like throwing her down our throats lately, even though she just came back to TV, I'm talking about as far as social media goes, I'm over Liv Morgan already. And she says basically that my business has nothing to do with these girls, and these girls have nothing to do with my business. She says that she is out for revenge on Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, of course, the person that hurt her, put her out of action for all this time. Some people want Becky Lynch versus Rhea at Mania. People are saying they want Liv Morgan versus Rhea at Mania. I don't want either. I don't. And if you look at the way they're promoting the graphic for the press conference, almost makes it seem like it's going to be Bianca versus Rhea at Mania. But I definitely don't want Becky. I'm tired of the horsewomen in the title picture. The only one I'm going to give a reprieve to is Bayley because of everything she's done for Damage Control, and her story is organic. Becky getting thrown into this would seem forced. And I don't want Liv. Liv is garbage in the ring. I agree with you there, Emmanuel. The Creeds do need to be featured a lot more. We've seen them in backstage segments with Alpha Academy as part of that whole contingent, but it's been a minute since we've seen them in action. You're absolutely right. We then had Drew McIntyre in Adam Pearce's office, and Pearce finds Drew for assaulting Seth Rollins. While that's going on, Rhea Ripley's music hits and she comes out to the ring. Adam Pearce sees this on the TV monitor backstage and he starts to rush to the ring. Rhea gets on the microphone and she calls out Nia Jax. Adam Pearce comes storming through and basically says that this isn't happening right now. Says this isn't the time, the place. You want Nia Jax, I will give you Nia Jax at the Elimination Chamber. Nia comes out and she just destroys Rhea, complete with the annihilation onto Rhea Ripley, sending a statement. So now we've got a little bit of sympathy going for Rhea, heading into the chamber in her home country of Australia. We then had Tozawa and Maxine versus Ivar and Valhalla. And honestly, the less that I say about this match, the better. I have 2 words for you. Hot garbage. Period. We then have the Judgment Day backstage, and they are talking about Rhea continuing to dominate her division, how Priest and Balor need to get back to dominating the tag division. Truth comes in, and JD McDonough says that if he didn't have a match next, that he would handle Truth right then and there. JD and Dom leave for the match. Priest and Balor start to get into it a little bit over Truth. Balor leaves. Priest tells Truth to make himself comfortable. We then got a Miz promo just before he came out to the ring for his match against JD McDonough. This was just a fun contest that saw R-Truth costing JD the match as he tried to give JD McDonough his cut from the t-shirt sales. Miz, skull-crushing finale, gets the victory. Money goes flying everywhere. This was just a lot of fun. Then had a Caden Carter Katana Chance hype promo. And then we see Imperium in Adam Pearce's office trying to finalize the details of Gunther's Intercontinental Championship celebration, as they are going to celebrate 600 days as champion. Braun Breaker comes into the office and he wants to see what Pierce has to offer him as far as a deal. This was a cool little segment, getting to see Braun on Raw and everything. Still curious as to where he's going to sign, but it should be good. We then have the Gunther 600 day celebration, and Gunther talks about how he's gone through everybody, and Jey Uso ends up coming out. Jey Uso wants a shot at Gunther. And looks like we're going to get that probably at the chamber. They didn't make it official, but all signs look like we're going to go there. Excuse me. Shinsuke Nakamura then cut a promo in Japanese to kind of hype up his match against Cody Rhodes for the evening. The two of them are going to have a Texas bull rope match. And he talks about how he's going to beat him in the match that his father made famous. We then get a tag team title rematch between the Kabuki Warriors, Caden Carter and Katana Chance. This was some phenomenal women's action here once again. Definitely made up for the tag team match earlier in the evening with Ivar Valhalla versus Tozawa and Maxine Dupree. Got that bad taste out of my mouth. There were a couple opportunities where Katana and Caden looked like they were going to get the victory. They set up the keg stand, but got tripped up on the outside by Kairi Sane, I believe it was, allowing the Kabuki Warriors to retain the titles. We then had a Sami Zayn interview. He was sitting in the stands before the show began, and he talks about how he's forever the underdog and how it was almost a year ago that they had the match at Elimination Chamber, him and Roman Reigns, and how he kind of feels like he's been stagnant ever since then. So I'm curious to see where that's going to go from there. Main event was Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Texas bull rope match. And as much as this match is about Cody, but just putting that final bow on the feud with Shinsuke Nakamura, the deeper story of this match is the fact that the bull rope they were using is the same bull rope that Dusty Rhodes, Cody's father, used his entire career. Specifically, it's the same bull rope that he used at Madison Square Garden against superstar Billy Graham in the match where Dusty thought he had won the WWF Championship, posed with it only to have it ripped from his hands. The same match that Cody has been trying to finish the story on. So kind of gives a little bit more into the fact that they're probably going to still go with Cody Roman, and they've been messing with the fans all along. We will have to see where things go, though. But of course, Cody got the victory here. It wasn't a surprise. Drew McIntyre did come out and get involved post-match. All in all, the weekend worth of wrestling was pretty solid. I'm going to give Raw an 8 out of 10 as well. We're going to take one final commercial, a little bit of a longer one, to promote Stat Boys Sports Bar, which of course is this afternoon. And then we'll come back, hit you guys with the shills, and get out of here. We will be right back.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
You ever wanted to come into a sports bar where the barkeeps know their game? Well, the Jeff Beecham Network Multiverse of Media has got a production just for you. Sit down and relax as the Stat Boy and his partner break down the statistics in all things sports. Whether it's football, basketball, motorsports, baseball, hockey, soccer, professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, boxing, and much, much more. all are welcome. Your barkeeps here keep you up to date and in the know of everything going on in sports, while also having a pleasant conversation about it all. Your host and owner of the bar, Stat Boy Mike. His partner in crime, Dory Lou. And a host of other guests coming in. The food's hot, the seats are warm, the drinks are ice cold, and the sports talk is plentiful. Casa de 18 Studios presents Stat Boy Sports Bar. Take a bar stool and enjoy the show.
Make sure you guys tune in every Tuesday to Stat Boy Sports Bar, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Tonight, it is going to be full Super Bowl coverage. Getting ready for the big game on Sunday. All the stats, all the notes. You guys should know by now how Stat Boy does. Of course, we're going to also be doing, for the first time ever, a watch-along for the Super Bowl. Stat Boy Mike will be doing the play-by-play, giving live reactions. We'll have members of the Sports Bar team on the air. It should be a very, very fun experiment for the multiverse of media. And if the numbers do well, then we may start doing some more pro sports watch-alongs. Events like the Indy 500, events like the World Series, the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals. So make sure you guys tune in first to Stat Boy Sports Bar today at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, and then to their watch-along coverage of the Super Bowl Sunday, tentative start time, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Still waiting for the official times from the NFL so that we can adjust accordingly. Of course, mentioned a couple times today, make sure you guys tune in at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, just a little under 2 hours from now, for a brand new project that I call Inside the Mind of the Renegade, where I will be breaking down everything as far as the Cody Rhodes, Rock, Roman Reigns situation that is out there that we know about, because again, nothing is official yet, and probably won't be until the press conference Thursday. So everybody out there that's losing their shit over a stare down where no words were exchanged from Friday, y'all need to calm the fuck down. And that's the last I will say of that until noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and joining me here today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, for my NXT review from tonight's episode. And until then, I will see you guys next time.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.